I knitted a blanket for my granddaughter's birthday. When she opened it, my son-in-law laughed and said, "That's not a gift. That's junk." My daughter said nothing as he tossed it in the trash in front of me. I left before cake was even cut. But the next morning they woke up to a delivery that I didn't sleep at all that night. I just kept seeing his face, Andrew, smirking like he was proud of himself, holding up that blanket like it was trash, tossing it like it was nothing. But what hurt more was Megan. She stood there, watching it happen and did nothing. Not a word. Not a glance my way. That blanket took me 6 months. I knitted every night. My fingers would cramp sometimes, but I kept going. I was proud of it. And now it was in a garbage can, still smelling like the lavender detergent I used to wash it before wrapping it. The next morning, I drove to a local shipping center. I had the address from years ago when I mailed them Christmas gifts. I mailed them a box, overnight, express delivery. Inside was the exact same yarn I used for the blanket, just the loose yarn in coils. I added a short note, handwritten, taped to the top. "This is what junk looks like. What I gave your daughter was love." I didn't sign it. It was just the start.
Petty?
Maybe.
But it made me feel something.
Not better. Not yet. But less invisible. The next day, I made a few more calls. One to my attorney. I had him draw up an addendum to my will. Megan and Andrew were removed completely. Everything I own, including my house, is now in a trust for Natalie, accessible only when she turns 25. Not a dime to either of them. Then I got creative. Megan works part-time as a lifestyle blogger on Instagram. She posts about mindful parenting and positive family rituals. Makes little reels of Natalie baking cookies or opening gift boxes. I kept quiet about it, but I started commenting under a new account. I wrote, "Do you always let your husband call handmade gifts junk in front of your child? And curious how you promote family values when you let your own mother be humiliated at your daughter's party." She blocked the account in less than 24 hours. But not before her followers saw it. I wasn't finished. Not even close. Next, I mailed the blanket back. I had taken it out of the trash on my way out that day, quietly when nobody was looking. I washed it again. This time, I vacuum sealed it in plastic with a typed note. "Trash belongs with trash." I sent it directly to Andrew's office with his assistant's name on the label, so he'd have to explain it when it arrived. I waited and watched. Because revenge isn't just about explosions. Sometimes it's about cracks forming slowly, quietly. And I was just getting started. A week passed. Silence from Megan. No apology. No call.
Not even a cheap text.
But I heard through a mutual friend, someone from our old church group, that Andrew's office wasn't pleased about the package. Apparently, the note and vacuum-sealed blanket caused a stir in his department. HR got involved, thinking it was some kind of threat. He had to explain the whole thing to his manager. I smiled when I heard that. Let him sweat a little. But I wanted Megan to feel it too. So I pushed further. I remembered something from years ago. When Natalie was born, Megan asked if I could co-sign a small savings account to start a college fund. I did. We put in $5,000 to start. Over the years, I kept adding birthdays, holidays, random deposits. Megan and Andrew never mentioned it again, and honestly, I think they forgot I had control. I didn't touch the money. But I did log in and switch the account notifications to my email only. Then I froze the account. Just like that, they couldn't access it without me. It wasn't a huge amount, around $28,000, but I knew it would sting once they realized. Then came the real hit. Remember that lifestyle blog Megan runs? I started compiling screenshots. Her posts, comments from fans, brand sponsorships. Then I wrote a detailed email, anonymous, of course, and sent it to every brand I saw sponsoring her page. I told them about the birthday incident. I shared the line Andrew said, exactly as it was spoken. I told them she stood by and let it happen. That she promotes family and kindness, but in real life, she lets her husband humiliate her elderly mother in front of a child. The fallout wasn't instant, but slowly her content changed. Less ads. Fewer comments. Then, a week later, her Instagram went private. I got another message from the same mutual friend. Megan had a breakdown at Natalie's school during pickup. Apparently, one of the other moms made a comment about respecting elders. Megan lost it. She started crying in the parking lot. Andrew wasn't taking it well, either. He sent me a text. First one in years. You've made your point. You need to stop. This is childish and cruel. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I replied, "So was throwing away your daughter's birthday gift in front of her grandmother?" No reply after that. But I wasn't done. Not until they understood the cost of what they did. Not until they really felt it. 2 weeks after that last text from Andrew, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From Megan. She didn't say sorry, not really. She danced around it. Said things like, "I didn't mean to hurt you, and I was caught off guard." She wrote that things had been tense at home and that she hoped we could move forward for Natalie's sake. Not once did she acknowledge what actually happened. Not once did she say, "I should have stopped him." That was all I needed to see. I threw the letter in the fireplace. But it told me something important. I was finally in their heads. I could feel it, and they weren't prepared for what came next. See, what Andrew didn't know is that I'd also talked to someone from his past. He grew up in Boulder, and years ago at a holiday party, he bragged about being the smartest guy in his class and how he cheated his way through college without ever getting caught. Back then I thought he was joking.
But now?
I started digging. I found an old classmate of his on LinkedIn, someone I remembered from the wedding reception. I reached out and asked some innocent questions. Turned out Andrew's degree wasn't from the university he claims. He dropped out his junior year and later faked a transcript to get hired at his current company. That's when things got serious. I didn't go straight to the company.
No.
I sent an anonymous tip to the alumni office at the university. I forwarded copies of the fake degree he had posted online. I knew they'd investigate, and I knew they'd eventually report it. That kind of fraud isn't taken lightly in the corporate world, especially in tech, where credentials matter. Meanwhile, I kept the pressure on locally. Natalie's school held a charity auction every spring. Megan always donated a custom-curated gift basket and loved being seen as one of the generous moms. This year, I made a quiet donation too, anonymously again, with a note that said, "In honor of all grandmothers who love in silence. Some families need reminders that kindness begins at home." That note was read aloud by the auction host. Megan was in the crowd. I wasn't there, but someone told me she turned bright red and left early. Then I made one final move for now. I wrote a letter. Not to Megan. To Natalie. A real letter, not an email. I told her about the blanket. I didn't mention the party or what her father did. I just told her that I made something for her with love. That one day, when she's older, I'll give it to her again, if she wants it. I mailed it to a trusted friend, one of the few people Megan still lets see Natalie. She promised to keep it safe. Because I'm not just getting revenge. I'm making sure Natalie knows the truth someday. And I still have one more card to play. About a month after the school auction, Megan called me. That alone was strange. She hadn't called in over a year. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. Her voice sounded hollow. "Mom, I don't know what's going on, but things are getting out of control. Andrew's being audited at work. He might lose his job. Natalie's been asking questions about the blanket. She found her card at a friend's house. I think we should talk." I didn't call her back. A week later, I got a knock on my door. It was late, after 9 p.m. I looked through the peephole. It was Andrew. I didn't open the door. I just stood there, staring. He stood outside for a full 5 minutes, shifting his weight, looking like he was debating something. Then he finally said, "You win. Okay? Are you happy?" I didn't answer. I waited until he walked back to his car and drove off. The truth was no, I wasn't happy. Not really. There's no joy in watching your own child fall apart. But I was satisfied. Because this wasn't about being petty anymore. It was about consequences. The next morning, I got a message from my attorney. Apparently, Megan and Andrew had attempted to contest the trust I'd created for Natalie. They wanted access to the money for educational planning. But the language was solid. Ironclad, he said. They didn't have a leg to stand on. That $28,000 would stay untouched until Natalie turned 25. Unless they took me to court, which would make everything public. I knew they wouldn't risk that. Things were crumbling around them. And still, neither one had the courage to face what they did to me. Then, about 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. Natalie called me. I didn't even know she had my number. She said she found it in an old birthday card I gave her. Her voice was soft, nervous. "Grandma, did you really make that blanket for me?" I felt something crack open in my chest. I told her yes, that I made it with my hands and my heart. "I wish I still had it," she said. I told her maybe one day she would. That call changed things. It reminded me who I was really fighting for. But it also made me realize something darker. Megan had kept Natalie from me on purpose. She hadn't just stood by while Andrew humiliated me. She had taken steps for years to pull Natalie away. Slowly, quietly. And I had let her. Now that I saw it clearly, I couldn't unsee it. I started documenting everything. Messages, voicemails, emails. I began preparing for the long game, not just revenge, but protection. Because when Natalie gets older, she's going to need the truth. And I'll be ready to give it to her. But there's still one piece left to play. After Natalie called, everything sharpened. Her voice lingered with me for days. Sweet, curious, full of that soft hope only a child can have. She didn't know what had happened. She just knew something wasn't right. And even at 6, she could feel it. I started thinking less about hurting Megan and Andrew, and more about what kind of world I wanted Natalie to grow up in. A world where her parents' cruelty got swept under the rug? Or one where the truth mattered? I decided it was time for more people to know. I reached out to a local reporter I met years ago at a library fundraiser. She wrote human interest pieces, local family profiles, school programs, that sort of thing. I pitched her a story idea. A grandmother makes a handmade birthday gift for her granddaughter. At the party, her son-in-law humiliates her, calling it junk and throwing it away. The mother says nothing. The grandmother walks out. I didn't mention names. I didn't need to. The story ran as a blind piece in a Sunday column. It was titled "Thrown Away," a grandmother's story. It spread fast. Moms groups shared it. Local Facebook circles. Church newsletters. Megan's neighborhood. And people started talking. Then came the church fallout. Megan had joined a trendy family wellness church a few years back. She posted pictures of Sunday brunches, Bible verses, her curated perfect life. But after that article, people stopped sitting near her. Whispers grew. The pastor called her in, told her the church valued humility, not hypocrisy. She left the church, quietly, the next month. Andrew, meanwhile, was under formal review at work. The university had confirmed he was never granted a degree. The HR department opened an investigation. Word got out. His clients started pulling back. A friend in the tech circle told me his name was Poison, now on some internal Slack channels. And then one day, Megan called again. But this time, she didn't leave a voicemail. She texted, "You've destroyed our lives. Are you happy now?" I stared at that message for a long time. I didn't reply, because she still didn't get it. This wasn't about me being happy. This was about justice. This was about dignity. And it still wasn't over. There was one final thing I had to do. 3 months later, I got a certified letter from Andrew's employer. It was confirmation. He had been terminated for resume fraud and professional misconduct. The degree lie, the HR complaint tied to the blanket incident, and a pattern of behavior that damaged workplace trust. She posted less and less until it was just pictures of Natalie, alone, in empty captions. I watched every one of them, not to enjoy it, but to document the cost of cruelty. I waited 6 more months. Let the silence do its work. Then I made my final move. I asked my attorney to send Megan and Andrew a formal letter. Not from me, from the trust I'd created for Natalie. It explained that I had legally removed both parents as guardians of the trust. Instead, a neutral third-party administrator would manage it. No access, no exceptions. The letter included a copy of my last amendment. If either parent attempts to contact or pressure Natalie regarding this trust before she is of age, the entire fund will be donated to a women's shelter in her name. Then I delivered my last gift. The blanket. It had never left my home again after I retrieved it. I kept it sealed in a cedar chest, wrapped in fresh tissue paper. I placed it in a plain brown box, along with one letter. I mailed it to Natalie, care of my trusted friend, the one Megan still allowed visits with. She promised to keep it safe until Natalie was ready. The letter inside was simple. My dearest Natalie, this was made for you. It always belonged to you. No one can take that away, no matter what they say. One day, when you're older, I hope you'll read this and understand what really happened. That love doesn't always come in big, shiny boxes. Sometimes, it's stitched together in quiet hours, with tired hands and an aching heart. Love always, Grandma. I've made peace with not seeing Megan again. That door's closed. She made her choice the day she said nothing while her husband threw my love in the trash. But I'll be here if Natalie ever knocks. And when she does, she'll know the truth. She'll have something real. Something made for her. Not store-bought. Not for show.
But warm.
And hers. Forever.